This week we have videos with grooming tips. So things have been closed now for a couple weeks and are looking like they will be closed for a couple more weeks, which means you need to start thinking about properly caring for your foster puppy's coat, especially if you have a poodle. Brushing the dog is hopefully something that you were doing anyway. But especially with groomers being closed and for our poodle friends, if you're not able to get the dog to a groomer, I've got some tips for how to groom the dog so that you are preventing mats from forming, which is very likely to happen for golden retrievers and then for our poodles as well. If you have a 50-50, so 50-50s are the lab golden crosses that Paws intentionally breeds. If you have a 50-50 that has more golden coat than they have lab coat, regardless of the color, then matting is something that you're going to want to watch out for as well. And so I'll show you the tools that I've got for brushing, and I'll talk about how to brush a dog. So one of the easiest things that I have that I use is called a Kong Zoom Groom. And so it's a little rubber brush. This is good, especially for labs because they don't have the thick coat that Goldens do. But you can use this on Goldens as well and poodles, and it'll help get the loose fur off of them. It won't help with mats, but if you want to brush the dog and just get some of that loose top coat out, the Zoom Groom is really good for that. And if you have a dog that wants to chew on it or that gets a little offended when you try to brush them, what you can do is, I've got some snacks over here for my dog. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush him. Yes. And then I'm going to follow it up with a treat. So I'm going to brush. I'll say yes. And then I give him that treat. And so if I were doing this and my dog were still squirming, yes, then what I would do is touch, yes. So I touch the brush to him, yes. And then I say yes as soon as it touches him, and then I follow it up with a treat, yes. And then I can increase my movements from there. So if you have a dog that doesn't like brushing, or you haven't tried to brush them yet, then that's one way that you can get them started with it. And again, this is a really gentle brush, so this is a nice brush to start dogs out with, especially on dogs that don't like being brushed. Some of the other ones, like the Furminators and those types of brushes, can be a little bit more harsh, and so that might be why the dog doesn't like being groomed. So I'm going to touch him, yes, and then I give him a treat. And I continue to brush, yes. And so while I brush, I'm saying yes, and I'm giving him a treat, and you can see that I'm getting lots of top coat out. This doesn't really do anything for their undercoat as much, but that's okay. So that's what I've gotten out so far. My dog likes to investigate the fur that I've taken off of him, and then he tries to eat it, but I don't want him to eat it, so we're not going to do that. So I brush, yes, and I say yes, and I can give him that treat. And this is what our groomer at Paws does as well. So we've got Carly and Emily that do grooming for us, and they do the exact same thing. So they groom the dogs. Every time they clip a nail or after they get done brushing, they give the dogs treats. So if you can set the dog up in that pattern so that the grooming is something that is fun and they get rewards for, then that'll help them when they do come back to Paws. So my dog is starting to relax. So now I'll talk about tools that you can use to help reduce the chance of matting. And I've got this is a groomer's brush, so this is just a metal comb. It's got fine teeth, and then it's got the wider spaced teeth. You don't need to get a fancy groomer's one. You can just get a comb. And the comb lets you know that there are no mats, because I am getting this all the way into his fur, down to the skin. When I use this, I need to go slow and do small sections at a time. So it takes a little bit longer, but it lets me know, but it lets me know that there aren't any mats because I'm getting the teeth of the comb all the way down to my dog's skin. And I'm not pressing hard, so it's not uncomfortable, but I am just going through his fur little bits at a time. And because I am getting the comb all the way down to the skin, the fur is not matted because my comb can go through it easily. And so I showed you that on the actual body. Most Goldens won't mat back here unless you don't wash them for like months or groom them for months on end. Poodles will mat all over their body much more easily. So with poodles, you definitely need to brush them to the skin on their entire body. With Goldens, the biggest, and poodles, but with Goldens especially, the biggest problem area for mats is going to be behind their ears. So we've got lots of soft fur back there, especially when they're puppies. They've got that soft baby fur back there, and then it's going to be spring and summer, and so they're going to start shedding, so they're more likely to get matted fur as they're shedding their coat. So again, because this is the ears, it's a little more sensitive, so I'm going to bring my treats back out, and I'm going to just comb underneath my dog's ear. And I can comb his ear itself as well. If my dog knows wait, I can put a treat down. Wait. No. Wait. Can lift his ear. He did not listen to the wait there, but that's okay. Mistakes happen. So we want to make sure that we brush under their ears, and that I would do every other day. That's what I do for my dog. You could do every day if you wanted, but I would try to do it at least once every other day or every couple of days so that you're definitely not having any mats form. The other spot that will often cause mats is in the dog's armpits, in their groin area, and then their feathering on their rear and the feathering on their front legs and back legs and their tail as well. So mats are super painful. I mean, imagine if you had a clump of hair, or imagine when you get like one singular piece of hair stuck in something, how much that hurts. The dog has a couple of hairs that are attached to one big clump, and that's the mat, which is dirt and oil. And so that can be really painful for dogs. So we don't want them to be getting matted. So when you brush them, make sure you're getting all the way down to the skin. For poodles especially, over their entire body, make sure you're getting down to the skin when you brush them. And then you want to make sure that their armpits, their groin area, behind their ears, and any feathering they may have, or their tails, you want to brush through that pretty regularly so that their fur stays nice and smooth and silky and doesn't get all clumped up, because that is quite painful for them. If you have a dog that does not like brushing, you can also use a brush glove. I don't know what brand this is. I was gifted it. But it's a glove, so it's like being pet. Some dogs find this even weirder. But then this way it feels like they're getting pet. As you can see, my dog is like, what are you doing? This is strange. So again, if this is the option I want to go, I'll just do this. Brush him this way. I would suggest maybe doing this outside so that you don't have to vacuum after. Good boy. And then for golden retrievers especially, I like pin brushes because this gets the undercoat without breaking their hair. So again, I will give him treats as I brush. I will brush, brush, brush. Yes. And I will give my dog treats. We want the dogs to like being groomed so that this is an easy thing. Some of our dogs, this is a big part of what the client does with them. So especially for our dogs that go to children with autism, brushing the dog can be a really therapeutic and calming thing for the child. So we want grooming to be a very mellow activity that results in good things. And those are my tips on how to brush a dog.